Yeah, Lordo's Deep Dive brought to you by Unique Wrought Iron, where thousands of Aussies go to make unique improvements to their homes. And, of course, have a look at their website today, Mother's Day. There's some great specials on offer there.
Yeah. So, thanks, TJ. There was an amazing moment that happened last weekend. Collingwood didn't have much to celebrate in their loss to the Gold Coast Suns, but there was a mark taken by a young magpie called Nathan Murphy, which is what we're going to tribute the Deep Dive to today. So this is a great mark. So Nathan Buckley would have shown this over and over and said, I know we got a lot wrong, but what about the courage from this young man, Nathan Murphy? So that can really turn things around and inspire teammates around you. So I thought we'd take a look at some of the most courageous marks and most courageous acts in the Deep Dive. So I'm going to start off with a couple of teammates of mine. Mark Harvey is one of the toughest players I ever played with, arguably the toughest. And this is one of the great marks I have ever seen Mark Harvey. With Mick Martin coming one way, how he got up from that, I could not believe. And this was a young Blake Caracella against Geelong. This was about 97. We were really struggling, and Sheeds threw all the kids in. Caracella did that, and he never went back to VFL footy ever again. So over to you, Damo, and most courageous mark.
Someone who did a lot in footy is this next man, Wayne Carey. He did this as much as any player, running back with it, Bill. And he always had an ability to protect himself as he did it.
But see how he turns his body? He turns his body right at impact, well, not there, but and to protect himself. But he did. Remember, it was Pagan's paddock, and he would run back into it and take these courageous marks.
Bill, had anyone done it before, Carey, like done it to this extent?
Nothing like this.
No.
Nothing like this.
But I think it created a path for players after him. This one, he's angry with the player not kicking to him, Damo, and then he turned it. He dominated this game.
This was a final they won, I think, against your team, Kane, back at the MCG on a wet Sunday.
We've all seen Jono Brown's mark, but let's have a look at it because it was unbelievable. Going back with the flight at the MCG.
There's a number of them, Brownie. We finished with that one.
We finished with that one. There's a few. Have a look at this one. He is going flat out on that one. Like there's marks where you're going back with the flight and you're not going that hard, but they are Jono Brown going back flat out with no care for his own body. This is the one.
One's unbelievable.
This is. And he just takes a few quicker steps. Like most people, when they get to that position, are slowing up. He was quickening up in those last 3 or 4 metres, and he is courageous.
He would actually put his own welfare on the line at training.
Yeah, he did. Hey, Bill, you're probably right that Carey protected himself a bit more than Jonathan Brown did.
He did. Yeah, that's silly. That's silly from Lego Head.
Well, I think was it Lee Matthews who actually said that? I think someone said it was.
No, I would have come up with that.
You would have. Are you putting yourself on the same level as Lee Matthews?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't tie his bootlaces.
Lordo, this one's in the conversation. Doesn't get played a lot, but it should be played more often because Stevie J here, look at the score here. He's angry. He was as competitive as anyone. This mark here is absolutely in the conversation with the ones that we have shown, and it doesn't get shown enough. It should be replayed more.
I've never seen that.
It's one of the AFL's great marks ever.
Stewie Jew, isn't it?
No.
Stevie J.
He's lost a bit of weight.
Hey?
He's lost a bit of weight,
I wasn't
Stevie.
suggesting anything about his weight.
All right,
I tell you what, I don't think anyone could ever doubt the courage of Jimmy Bartell, but this particular act just typified it, really. This was actually, have a look at this. He goes back also with the flight of the ball. Just sensational. Now, that might remind you of another mark, i.e. Nick Riewoldt, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
This was in the same week as Nick Riewoldt. So in many regards, it actually got overshadowed, didn't it? I mean, but that is a great mark in its own right, Jimmy Bartell.
It was indeed. Another Geelong boy here, Domsey, Tom Lonigan. Now, this is courageous. He lost a kidney in this one here. Oh, I just hate watching it because
that's the one, isn't it?
He's so open. He is so open when he goes for the mark here and just goes back and bang. And that's when he got rushed to the hospital and lost a kidney. And well done, Domsey.
A Geelong teammate recently said he's the most courageous player he ever played with. So he did that countless times, did Tom Lyon. Now it's about the most courageous acts on the football field. My favourite game of all time was the 89 Grand Final. It's when I truly fell in love with the game, watching this game. This was the tactics. Obviously, Yates coming on at Dermy at the first bounce because they thought Dermy would do it to someone else. He goes back at him afterwards as well. Gets hit hard. And I'll never forget Dermy's response. You know, he was throwing up out there on the ground. He's in serious pain. And for him to go back with the flight after this and kick that goal, I just loved it. It's what the theatre of this game, the toughness of this game, Bill.
Yes.
It's still to this day my most favourite game of all time. And then this one, Gary Ablett. Does he make you pay? Just smashed him in the kidneys and the lungs. And
he was in trouble, Dipper.
Oh, yeah.
And
the courage of Dipper to play through the whole game as they're celebrating. This is Dipper being carried off with a punctured lung.
Just extraordinary when you think about it.
It was. And then you see him in the hospital talking through this after the game. He'd forgotten so much of what actually happened in that game.
The priest came and gave him a visit.
Yeah.
At one stage. That was a tough game.
Yeah,
Gee, we had some injuries after that game. Blokes were sore.
Football as big as the icons as those two gentlemen, Francis Burklard, at Arden Street in the early 80s.
You were there, Damo?
I actually was there when he got hit there with that incident here, and he just didn't go up. There was no blood rule back then, as we can see, but they threw him forward, and he started taking marks and kicking goals, and it was intimidating sitting in the crowd watching him be so brave in that particular incident. It made all the front pages the next day, TJ, with the blood all over the face. And he was as courageous as they came.
Well, one of the toughest footballers ever to pull on a pair of boots, but also one of the nicest blokes off the field is Francis Burke. Hey, I want to take your attention now to the 1990 Grand Final. This, of course, was Collingwood's premiership year. And Darren Mullin, I mean, he broke his thumb just prior to this final series, but through injections and the like, he managed to play on. And when that siren goes and he holds that ball aloft, that remains one of the most, can I say it again, iconic images in football history, certainly in grand final history. And then the backstory, you'll hear the siren go in a tick, but then the backstory as to the extent of that thumb injury. And, I mean, you guys have all played the game. I mean, you take the thumb out of the equation, it does make things pretty difficult.
Very hard.
It does indeed. Joel Selwood played with a broken thumb last year in the grand final. Hey, Darren Creswell, remember this? Remember whacking his knee in here? What about that? Go, Crezza, get it. He got it. There we go. Just knock it in its place there. And then he gets up and jogs away and keeps playing. Sorry for those who are sitting at home having a cup of tea, but that is.
It just makes us understand the players and what they play with from week to week. It's staggering. He just got up and kept running. Amazingly what some of the players do from week to week.
Tough, aren't they?
Yeah.